Wink News begins with breaking news.
Incredible new video coming into the Wink newsroom overnight of a deadly plane crash in Taiwan. This video is from TVBS in Taiwan. 15 of the 58 people on board are dead, and right now the rescue mission is still undergoing. Good morning, I'm Jen Stacy. This is Wink News This Morning.
And I'm Rob Spicker. That video you saw is an ATR-72 600 prop jet crashing into a river in Taipei, Taiwan, late local time last night. And we have 15 people confirmed dead right now. That number, unfortunately, is expected to rise.
You can see here rescuers working to pull survivors from the submerged wreckage of that plane. The flight was on its way to a nearby island, and authorities say that it crashed shortly after taking off. Those 15 that died in the crash are among 28 people already pulled from the plane. The remaining people were unaccounted for and were either still in the fuselage or had been pulled down the river.
Now, in the video we can show you here of the crash, you can see that the aircraft clips an overpass and a taxi during its plunge. The taxi's occupants survived but are in the hospital in stable condition. Here's the aftermath of that hit. Incredible. Taiwan's Aviation Safety Agency says it's not yet figured out what caused the crash. Updates on this story consistently coming in, so you can count on Wink News for the very latest throughout the morning.
Now, Wink weather on the ones.
That's your Wink News traffic, Jen and Rob. Back to you.
Developing this morning, at least 7 people are dead and nearly a dozen injured after a commuter train slams into an SUV in New York.
As Wink News reporter Don Champion is going to tell us, officials with the National Transportation Safety Board should be on the scene this morning trying to find answers to this deadly crash.
More than an hour after the deadly collision, smoke still billowed from the front car of the Metro North train. Headed to suburban New York from the heart of Manhattan at rush hour Tuesday evening, the train never made it to its destination. Investigators say it crashed into a Jeep Cherokee stopped under a gate on the tracks, triggering an explosion and fire.
The third rail of the track came up from the explosion and went right through the car.
Hundreds of commuters were on board at the time.
When I heard the extent of the damage to the first car and I saw that it had burned completely, I couldn't even imagine how many people were in there that had lost their lives.
Others escaped the charred front cars of the train by jumping into the snow below.
Get out of the train, it's freezing cold out, and then you realize how fortunate you are.
Even in the overnight hours, investigators could be seen going in and around the train. Meantime, service on the rail line where the accident happened has been suspended. Metro North is the nation's second largest commuter rail line and serves close to 300,000 riders in New York and Connecticut a day. Shuttle buses will now be used to transport commuters in the area.
When things will get back to normal on the Harlem line, can't say.
Tuesday's accident is the deadliest in the railroad's history. Don Champion, Wink News.
Metro North has been criticized severely for some accidents all over the last couple of years.
Also developing this morning, Jordan executes 2 prisoners, including the suicide bomber ISIS wanted in a hostage swap. The deaths came after ISIS released an elaborately produced video that shows a 26-year-old Jordanian pilot being burned alive inside a cage. Jordan offered to free the woman in exchange for that pilot, but ISIS never proved that he was alive. The country now believes that he was murdered January 3rd.
It's just one more indication of the viciousness and barbarity of this organization. And I think will redouble the vigilance and determination on the part of a global coalition to make sure that they are degraded and ultimately defeated.
ISIS captured the Jordanian pilot when his fighter plane crashed in Syria during a bombing raid in December.
Wink News time is 5:06, and today jury selection starts over again in the case of a man accused of shooting 17-year-old Alexis Wilson. A mistrial stopped the first group from hearing the case when a witness mentioned the suspect was in a gang. Police arrested James Brown last year after he allegedly shot several bullets into a car that Wilson was riding in. Police say that Wilson was with a group of people and they had stopped for gas. The group says Wilson recognized Brown, who allegedly followed their car as they left the station and opened fire later on them at a red light at Winkler Avenue and Veronica Shoemaker Boulevard. This morning, Wink News is following kind of a scary story out of Collier County where a family is recovering after chunks of wood smashed right through the window of their home.
It was a close call, and the mother claims that county workers are to blame. Wink News reporter Stephanie Suskind has more.
Good morning. Well, this family says they are very grateful no one was hurt after wood came flying through their window. Take a look. It is all taped up right now, but there is a gaping hole behind all of that tape. Now, the family says a county worker was chopping down trees just outside and that he is to blame when that wood came flying through the window. The woman who lives here, Sandy, says she called 911 to get a response out from officers. She says her son, who has autism, was sitting right near the window. She was scared that wood could have hit him right in the head.
It's very scary. His life is in my hands. He can't talk. He can't take care of himself. And that came within inches of his head.
Now again, the family just very glad no one was hurt. They say all they wanted was an apology, but they did not get that. Now coming up later this morning, county officials will actually be out here. They'll be assessing the damage and they'll see how much it will cost. The county is expected to pay for it, which could be your tax dollars. Reporting in North Naples, Stephanie Suskind, Wink News This Morning.
At last, today's the day the city of Boston will properly celebrate a Super Bowl win. The New England Patriots will finally get their victory parade. In a few hours, New England is filled with cheering fans, and duck boats will carry the team through the city. You know, the Patriots beat the Seattle Seahawks in the big game, 28-24. First win for the Pats in about 10 years. Their parade that ends up in City Hall begins about 11 o'clock this morning.
They're probably already partying.
I would think so.
They've been partying since Sunday.
Yep.
Moving on to another snow day across the globe. Check this cool video out from Slovakia. A videographer captured the slow-mo video of huge snowflakes falling to the ground. Definitely a sight we're not used to around here, so it's easy for us to forget what snowflakes look like up close. Looks like a snow globe almost, doesn't it?
Almost, yeah. So
beautiful.
Thick and fluffy snow, that's for sure.
Again, beautiful from this
A
perspective. Yeah.
Yes.
Right out of the break, meteorologist Joey Sovine joins us with your weather on the ones. No snowflakes.
Yeah, none here. Not in our forecast. You're watching Southwest Florida's news leader, Wink News This Morning at 5:09.
That's your Wink News traffic, Jen. Back to you.
We're staying on top of some breaking news now at 5. Incredible pictures coming in overnight. Look at this. A deadly crash in Taiwan that killed at least 15 people. Here it is again. Truly remarkable. You can see that plane. It had 58 people on board. It clipped the bridge shortly after taking off. This video is coming to us from TVBS in Taiwan.
That is amazing to see. Rescuers right now are still trying to get any survivors out of the submerged plane, but they do expect the death toll is going to rise as the morning goes on. We'll keep you up to date on this story coming up at 5:30.
A day after meeting with Jordan's president at the White House, President Obama will meet today with a group of so-called dreamers, illegal immigrants brought here by their parents who have been granted temporary deportation amnesty.
Congressional Republicans are trying to block the president's executive actions on immigration, claiming he's been overstepping his powers to allow these immigrants illegally here in the country to stay. But the president maintains his executive actions are lawful. The confirmation hearing for President Obama's pick for Defense Secretary begins today. Ashton Carter appears before the Senate Armed Services Committee. It's headed by Arizona Senator John McCain. It is widely expected the committee will confirm Carter, who would be replacing outgoing Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. Carter has served as Deputy Secretary of Defense and Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics, serving under 11 different defense secretaries. Also today, the governor is here to highlight cell phone and TV tax cuts at the Bonita Springs Area Chamber of Commerce. The effort's part of his Keep Florida Working budget proposal. Governor Scott will speak at 3 o'clock this afternoon, promoting part of his plan to cut more than $1 billion in taxes over the next 2 years.
Taking a look at some of our health headlines this morning, complications from surgery are often the reason patients have to go back into the hospital, according to a new JAMA study. Researchers in Chicago looked at nearly 350 hospitals. They found readmissions within the first 30 days after surgery were linked to surgical complications, not to the medical condition that required hospitalization in the first place. Surgical site infections were the most common reason to be readmitted. New research finds that women use more oxygen to breathe than men. A new study from the University of British Columbia looked at how much oxygen men and women use when they exercise. They found that women need more oxygen to work their diaphragms and the muscles surrounding their rib cages. Researchers say that this difference likely affects women's physical performance.
Interesting.
That is very interesting.
You're watching Wink News This Morning, Southwest Florida's news leader.
Coming up right after the break, Wink meteorologist Joey Sovine's back in with your weather on the ones. Time right now is 5:18.
That's your Wink News traffic. Jen and Rob, back to you.
Now in Wink News at 5:22, tax time is upon us, and for most of us, you file and you're finished. Unless, of course, you're one of the millions of taxpayers who gets audited.
So how does the IRS select returns for an audit? Well, nobody knows for sure, but Wink News money expert Stacey Johnson does have a few ideas.
It's that time of year again when Uncle Sam wants your money in the form of income taxes. One way Uncle Sam can get it? Through tax audits. For obvious reasons, the IRS is never going to tell us exactly how they choose returns for audit, but we do know that there are some red flags you need to be aware of. Example, wrong preparer. If the IRS believes your accountant is claiming fake deductions, they could audit all of their clients. So beware of bold claims. Red flag number 2, calling something a business and deducting losses on it when it's actually a hobby, thus not eligible for deductions. You want to qualify as a business? Sooner or later, you got to make money. Generally speaking, if you're in the 3rd year of a business and you're still showing losses, you might start getting a little nervous that the IRS may consider it a hobby. And speaking of small business, according to the Wall Street Journal, those who write off their small business expenses on a Schedule C are way more likely to be audited than those who incorporate. Another potential red flag? Taking deductions for things like charitable contributions that are large relative to your income. And one final red flag, home office deductions, because they're easy to fudge. Bottom line, always take every deduction you're entitled to, red flag or not. But if you are in a gray area, just make sure you've got everything documented. Want more audit triggers? I've got a bunch of them waiting for you at moneytalksnews.com. Just do a search for Tax Hacks 2015. For Money Talks News, I'm Stacey Johnson.
Our Wink News time is 5:24, and UPS says it's raising shipping prices this year. The company's CEO says that will include a surcharge for residential deliveries on some peak days. UPS spent heavily on extra workers and equipment for the holidays, which pushed its profits down 61% in the 4th quarter. With the New York Stock Exchange ready to delist Radio Shack, the signal of the once giant retailer is fading, but it already does have some potential buyers in both Amazon and Sprint. Amazon may be eyeing Radio Shack stores as a way to expand its online operations into the more brick-and-mortar world. But Radio Shack is reportedly considering the sale of half of its stores to Sprint and then closing the rest in a report from Bloomberg. Students of Corinthian colleges are going to see their loans forgiven to the tune of $480 million. The federal consumer watchdog says the for-profit school used bogus job prospects to get students to pay tuition with overpriced student loans, and a number of the borrowers defaulted. The Princeton Review is even stripping the business school at the University of Missouri, Kansas City of its top 25 ranking after officials admitted to handing in false data.
It is 5:25 and all new this morning. Hasbro says it's putting real money inside 80 game sets of Monopoly. Sadly for us, those 80 are only being sold in France. It's for the 80th anniversary of the classic board game. Only one lucky winner, though, will win the major jackpot, a complete real bank, more than $23,000. 79 other game sets will contain hundreds of dollars mixed in with the usual fake bills. Now that would be nice, wouldn't it? All new at 5, the Girl Scouts have a lot of new things this year. They have new ways to buy online, new cookie flavors, and now some new prices. Some Girl Scout troops are raising the prices of their cookies by as much as $1. That means it could cost you up to $5 for one box of the seasonal treats. But what you pay depends on where you live, meaning tag-alongs can cost more in other parts of the country. This is the first time a number of the troops raised their prices in a decade. People still buy them because they're just that good.
They are that good, but I like to get a $10 bill at the grocery store and go out and buy as many boxes of cookies as I can, and two's not enough.
Yeah, well, it's good for your waistline, though. Look at it that way.
If you insist. Coming up today on CBS This Morning, a sister act taking the music world by storm. You'll get introduced to the 3 women behind the Grammy-nominated band, what is it, Haim?
I'll go with that.
Sure. That's how good they are.
Plus, reimagining romance. What are singles looking for in a partner? The results of the largest national study on American singles. It's all ahead at 7 right here on Wink.
Of course, we'll be on Wink News This Morning on WXCW. Coming up, your top stories here on Wink TV and your weather forecast every 10 minutes with our weather on the ones and meteorologist Joey Silva.
Our producers are going to correct us any moment. It's 5:27.
Welcome back to our second half hour. I'm Rob Spicker.
And I'm Jen Stacy. We are following some breaking news for you at 5:30. Firefighters are battling a house fire in Bonita Springs once again. This is the second day in a row firefighters have been at this particular house on Tarpon Way. And Wink News reporter Stephanie Susskind joins us live with the breaking details. Good morning, Steph.
Good morning, Jen and Rob. A very sad situation out here on Tarpon Way. Neighbors say it is deja vu all over again. I'll step out of the way. It's hard for you to see because there are so many emergency vehicles out here, but you can make out that home where the roof is just destroyed. You can see firefighters on top of the roof right now. They are hosing it down, spraying it down. There were flames shooting through the roof a little bit earlier this morning, we're told. Neighbors telling Wink News that they saw those flames. They say that it was in the same spot as yesterday's fire. You'll remember Wink News was on scene out here yesterday after a fire started in the kitchen. The fire department said a stove burner was left on, and that's how the smoke and the flames spread yesterday. They said the home was damaged but livable, which is why the homeowner was still here overnight. He was actually staying on the bottom floor of the home. The fire apparently started on the top floor where that kitchen is and spread out through the roof from there. Now, the fire department is still investigating exactly what happened out here. We're working to learn more information. We're talking to neighbors and to witnesses out here. Overall, just a very sad situation. We do know, though, the homeowner is okay, and his dog named Lucky once again made it out okay. Count on Wink News for updates. We'll be out here throughout the morning. Live in Bonita Springs, Stephanie Susskind, Wink News this morning.
Now, Wink Weather.
That's your Wink News traffic, Jen and Rob. Back to you.
Finally, some more breaking news coming up on 5:34. A commercial jet crashes into a river in Taiwan, killing at least 15 people.
And you have to see the video of it. This is from the Taiwanese broadcaster TVBS.
Oh,
there
goodness.
comes the plane, practically on its side. The wings clip a taxi and a bridge, and then plunges into the river down below. All new for you at 5:30. Aviation authorities there have found the plane's black boxes. That's the flight cockpit and data recorder. Should give investigators the answer as to exactly what was going on.
Authorities say there were 58 passengers on board. Right now, rescue and recovery teams are on that scene, and you can count on Wink News for updates on this story as we learn more throughout the morning. Now at 5:34, the top stories we're following this morning as well. 7 people are dead, several others injured after a commuter train with hundreds on board slammed into an SUV in New York's Westchester County. A transit official says the northbound train struck a Jeep Cherokee that got stuck on the tracks when the safety gates came down around it. It happened at the height of the evening rush on Tuesday. The collision sparked an explosion and a fire. NTS investigators are investigating that crash site this morning.
The confirmation hearing for President Obama's pick as defense secretary begins today. Ashton Carter is to appear before the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is headed up by Arizona Senator John McCain. It's widely expected the committee will eventually confirm Carter. He would replace the outgoing defense secretary Chuck Hagel. Carter will say that he wants to spend defense money wisely, but also wants budget stability out of Congress. He has served in the Pentagon under 11 defense secretaries.
Jordan executes 2 prisoners, including the suicide bomber ISIS wanted in a hostage swap. Those deaths came after ISIS released an elaborately produced, brutal video that shows a 26-year-old Jordanian pilot being burned alive inside a cage. Jordan offered to free the woman in exchange for the pilot, but ISIS never proved he was alive. The country now believes that he was actually murdered on January 3rd.
And right now, as we turn 5:36, the Affordable Health Care Act is going back to the Supreme Court about a month from today. And this time, the insurance subsidies will be up for debate. The law's opponents argue the federal government cannot subsidize coverage for Americans unless they live in a state that set up its own insurance market. The federal government runs the market in 30 states, including Florida, which means millions could lose their policy, find it unaffordable if the justices follow the letter of the law. Also now, the Senate may be voting to repeal or defund a change in President's health care law for the first time. The House has voted to do it again for the 67th time, but first time for 47 new lawmakers. They passed this repeal 239 to 186. Should the Senate be able to vote, it would be a first again. But even if the bill can get to President Obama's desk, he's going to veto it.
Today's a big day for some high school athletes. It is National Signing Day for fall sports, and students here in Southwest Florida will be declaring their commitment to colleges. 13 area football players are expected to announce their plans for next year, playing at various Division I schools. Michael Walker from Naples High School will become an Eagle at Boston College. Also from Naples, Seth Penner from First Baptist Academy will become a Clemson Tiger. Congratulations to them and to their parents.
Yes, a lot of hard work pays off today.
Absolutely.
And now for you on Wink News this morning at 5:37. It's the lowest scoring high school basketball game in nearly 40 years.
Look at this. This is a real score from an Alabama high school game between Bibb County and Brookwood.
Really?
The Tuscaloosa News reports the first points came within the first 15 seconds of the game. Nothing after that. This may lead you to believe that these teams are either awful on offense or perhaps amazing on defense or both. But in reality, there was no shot clock in this game, so the teams ended up with just 2 points. They held it the whole game, and when the other team got it, they missed all of their shots. The coach of the winning team says it was their 4th game of the week, and he just wanted to rest his guys.
That is crazy.
I don't know who I feel worse for, the players or the people in the stands, if there were any watching.
That was not a good game.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good score in baseball.
I think preschoolers could get 2 points somewhere in the game.
Probably so.
Wow. 5:38, you're watching Week News This Morning. I hope you have better luck than those folks today.
Now, Wink weather on the ones.
That's your weekdays traffic, Jen. Rob, back to you.
You know, laughter is good for the soul. Something that can melt away a bad mood or a sour face and just immediately make you feel better.
And tomorrow's a perfect opportunity to get some great laughs in and be part of the show. So where's Wink Now? Week News reporter John Treeweiler is live at 5 with more for us. Good morning, Tree.
Yeah, Rob and Jen, good morning to you. We are out here at the Center for the Performing Arts in Bonita Springs this morning. Craig's here with us. Craig, good morning to you.
Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm fantastic. First of all, explain to us why we're here. This is the big improv comedy show kicking off tomorrow. We already have some activity going on this morning, too.
That's right. We're warming up now here at this early hour. What it is Improvaganza Palooza Come Jam Fest. It is going to be 3 days of improv right here at the Center for the Arts of Bonita Springs on Bonita Beach Road, starting tomorrow night with Improv Anonymous and another group coming in, the group from Naples Underground.
Now, these are actually some of our younger improv comedians up on the stage right now. What exactly? They look like zombies just walking up there. What exactly are they doing, Craig?
Well, they're doing a warm-up exercise, John, and you're going to be joining us.
Yeah, I can't wait to do that. Explain this warm-up to us.
This is getting us warmed up to do improv. You see the members of 2 improv teams, Skimprov Milk and Little Shop of Improv, performing this Saturday at 3 p.m. And this is our youth improv group doing family-friendly improv on Saturday at 3 p.m. here.
3 p.m. That's pretty impressive. So we should join them up on stage?
Yes, absolutely.
How exactly does this work? Explain to me this warm-up. I'm basically, Rob, Jen, we're just going to make a fool of ourselves right here on stage.
Sound, lips, teeth, tip of the tongue, lips, teeth, tip of the tongue, lips, teeth, tip of the tongue, lips, teeth, tip of the tongue.
I can't even do that. Lips, teeth, tip of the tongue. That's about the best I can do. Rob, Jen, we're just going to jig out here all morning, and we got some more improv for you coming up in a little bit.
Leave your inhibitions at the door.
You don't often see Treeweiler get embarrassed.
No, that one did it.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
There's more energy there, as Joey just said, in that one room than all of Southwest Florida. I don't
There might be.
Good for them.
Yep. All right, we can always feature your nonprofit organization, fundraising events, attractions, and more with our Where's Wink Now segment. The bar's been raised today. Email us to thismorning@winknews.com. Let us know what's going on so we can have a chance to join you for some fun and share your good news.
It is 5:47. You're watching Week News This Morning.
Now for you at 5:50, the stories that has everybody talking. What's trending on the web this morning?
A 40-year-old Wyoming sheriff's deputy is riding off into the sunset after his new boss decided to change up the once traditional Western wear uniform. The new sheriff in Sublette County imposed a new dress code on deputies, requiring them to wear black pants, a tan shirt, black boots, and a black ball cap. No cowboy hat, which used to be the standard dress. Sheriff Stephen Haskell says the change is for safety and uniformity. But Deputy Gene Bryson says he dressed that way for 40 years, and he's not going out to buy combat boots and throw his vest and hat away. He is a cowboy through and through, riding all the way to the end. Good for him. Also trending this morning is a story that'll make even the strongest of men feel very, very weak.
Hafthor Bjornsson, who some of you may know as the Mountain, who's from the HBO show Game of Thrones, just broke a 1,000-year-old strongman record. In the video from the world's strongest Viking competition, Bjornsson takes 5 steps, lifting a 32-foot, 1,433-pound log.
Oh my gosh.
The record actually is part of Viking lore. The legend of the Icelander Orm Sturlufsson apparently was able to carry this off. Says he walked 3 steps with a monster wooden log, and after the 3rd step, his back broke from the enormous pressure.
Oh my gosh.
Thankfully not this time.
Maybe you and Joey should try that out. Tomorrow?
Jen and I already
No, I
have.
feel incredibly weak at the moment.
Yeah, I do too. But you know, when my wife and I found out we were going to have a girl, I started hitting the weight. So in 15 years from now, or 20 years from now, when I let her date somebody.
I went to the store.
I'll be
a certain kind of store.
Yeah, makes sense. Lock and load.
We'll be ready. All
Watch
right,
it,
let's take a
boys.
look outside.
You're going to need it with your daughter. Good Lord.
That's still a long ways off for both of us. Let's hope so. Yeah, let's hope so.
That's your Wake News traffic. Jen and Rob, back to you.
It is 5:53, and right now firefighters are on the scene of a house fire in Bonita Springs. It broke out just after 4 this morning at a home on Tarpon Way.
And this is the second day in a row firefighters have been called out to this same house. Week News reporter Stephanie Susskind is on the scene to keep us up to date. Good morning.
Good morning. A very sad situation on this street that's a very small-knit community. Take a look out here. You can see the damage does look significantly worse than yesterday's fire. You can still see the smoke billowing through the roof and heavy damage to that roof and to the exterior of the house. Now, the fire department still investigating what caused this fire this morning, but we do know that yesterday the fire at this home started because a burner was left on in the kitchen and the fire spread from there. Now, neighbors and witnesses tell Wink News it appears that the fire started this morning in the same area. Of course, they're still on scene here, still battling this whole situation. You can count on Wink News for updates. We'll have more for you coming up in minutes on Wink News This Morning at 6. Live in Bonita Springs, Stephanie Susskind, Wink News This Morning.
And there's also breaking news from Taiwan we're following. In the last few minutes, the number of the dead from a plane crash there has risen. It's up to 19.
You can see in this video the plane, incredible video, flying on its side, the wing hitting that taxi, then the overpass before crashing into the river. Look at the taxi. There were 58 people on board the plane. We do know the flight cockpit and data recorders have been recovered. Remarkably, the people in that taxi survived. They are in the hospital right now. We're going to continue to follow this for you and update you throughout Wink News This Morning.
It's an amazing video. This morning, federal transportation investigators, they'll be on the scene of a deadly commuter train crash just outside of New York City. Officials saying the train hit an SUV stuck on the tracks during the Tuesday evening rush in Valhalla. It's about 20 miles north of Manhattan. The crash killed the driver of the SUV and 6 people on the train. Several more are hurt. Investigators say the impact of the crash caused the electrified third rail to buckle and pierced through the train.
Jordan executed 2 al-Qaeda prisoners in retaliation for a video from ISIS that shows a Jordanian fighter pilot being burned alive. The Jordanian military confirmed the death of the 26-year-old pilot captured by the Islamic extremist group back in December when his jet crashed. One of the prisoners Jordan executed was the woman ISIS wanted to free. Now on Wink News This Morning at 5, here's what's just coming in off of the Wink wires.
The daughter of the late singer Whitney Houston is being moved now to a different hospital in Atlanta. Bobby Christina Brown was found face down and unresponsive in a bathtub in her home over the weekend. She was later put into a medically induced coma. The family says the 21-year-old is fighting for her life.
Donald Newberry of the Texas 7 gang is set to be executed by lethal injection tonight. Newberry was one of 7 gang members that escaped prison more than 14 years ago. They held up a sporting goods store and killed a Dallas police officer while out of prison. Attorneys for the 52-year-old asked that his execution be put on hold.
The United States is going to begin to destroy its largest remaining chemical weapons stockpile. The Pueblo Chemical Depot in Colorado is planning to get rid of 2,600 tons of aging mustard agent in March. Mustard agent can blister the skin, cause scarring on the eyes, and inflame the airways. This is all part of a U.S. effort to comply with a 1997 treaty that bans all chemical weapons.
The World Food Competition is leaving Las Vegas and heading to Florida. Officials say the cooking competition will be held in November in Kissimmee. The event was in Las Vegas the last 3 years. That competition offers a $100,000 grand prize. Cooking categories include dessert, barbecue, and several others. There's a total of $300,000 in prizes.
All right. Straight ahead, we'll keep you up to date on all those stories and more, plus our forecast every 10 minutes with our weather on the ones and meteorologist Joey Silva.
Your time right now is 5:57. Wink News This Morning at 6 is just a couple of minutes away.